Welcome to Swagger's Lifestyle.
I'm Gbogbo Swagger and this is Swagger's Lifestyle. How are you? How you doing? Hope you're good. So it's been an amazing time and I know that you've been progressing in life and you've been doing amazing. You've been doing well because I have. And thank you so much to all my fans and my supporters and my subscribers. Because of you, I am here. So if you are new to my channel, this is a lifestyle channel. We talk about travels, we talk about tour, and we talk about everything about lifestyle. So since you're here, just click on the subscribe button and then turn on the bell notification. So I saw something. Do you know that the specific type of nurturing a child receives shapes how emotions such as joy, happiness, fear, and shyness are developed? A lot of you do not know that, but it is actually true because today we're talking about child psychology. Do not go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Swagger's Lifestyle.
Welcome back. We're talking to an amazing person today. He's a psychologist and also he specialized in child psychology. It's going to be an amazing and interesting discussion. So I think I'll just allow him to introduce himself. Please introduce yourself.
Good day, everyone. My name is Gbogbo. I'm a family psychologist.
What is child psychology?
Well, child psychology is the study of childhood development subconsciously and consciously. So when we talk about conscious things, that means there are things you are aware of, the things you know you are doing, while subconscious are things you are doing without your awareness of them, you doing them.
Okay, so what are the formative years of a child that parents must pay attention to?
Well, anyone that is a parent must pay attention to their child, irrespective of their age, because there's no end to learning. But when it comes to formative years, scientifically, it's between age 2 to age 6. So that's a very critical time in the child's life that needs utmost care and attention, because around that time is when a lot of behaviors, a lot of the brain is actually picking up to, adapt to life. Life experiences need to be checked. The information that is exposed, to that individual needs to also, be checked.
Okay, so formative is when it has to do with attitudes of the child, character of the child, or formative in what sense? Like brain
Cognition.
development?
This is a cognitive development.
Okay, so when you're saying the parents should pay attention to it, what are the parents supposed to look out for?
You look out for everything. I mean, when you say you're laying a foundation for a child, whatever it is, that child would need, to live a productive life is what you should pay attention to. But the mistake most of us make is that we see a child as just a child, maybe not being able to know things. But it will shock you that a child learns faster than an adult. So it's just nature that the adult, has to train the child. And if the adult is looking at training the child from the perspective of an adult, it's going to be difficult because you overlook so many things. But if you see the child as a person that, aside being a young in age or seemingly immature, this person is also a person. And if you now put it also at the back of your mind that this person has the ability to learn even 2 or 3 times as fast as I can, then you have a lot of work to do.
How does the absence of a primary caregiver affect a child's development?
When we talk about development, we talk about different aspects. There's the emotional development, there's nutritional development, there's cognitive development, there's social development. So
probably in line with psychology or the formative years of this child.
Yeah, everything is all together. We know we as human beings have needs. We have need for safety. We have need for nutrition. We have need for sleep. We have needs for many things. Mm-hmm. So there is somebody. That's why they're called dependent. They cannot live their life on their own as at the time. Mm-hmm. So during the formative stage of a child's or an individual's life, the primary caregiver, most importantly, both parents, that's the man and the woman, should be totally, around. But like I said, many things can happen, and you might have only one, or you might not have any. But whoever is assigned, to take care of that person has to be there for them totally. Let me deviate a bit. Most parents see that time as a time to just put the child in the daycare center and go off to work. Let there be at least some. They call it in Yoruba, they call it jealousy. Like, that means let the house at least rest. But that's not actually what the child needs. What the child needs is a feeling, an atmosphere of love, which is comfortable, not a place where daddy and mommy is fighting because of maybe postpartum stress or life issues that might come up, along the line. So, some families have the home not in place. That's not the time for a child to see daddy and mommy fighting. That's not the time for a child to see people yelling and, people running helter-skelter. That's not the time for the child to see, meals not being brought on time. And you start to see a child being scared of either going to school or going out, or has this withdrawn, attitude, and it wasn't so before. It means the child doesn't feel safe. So we can keep talking about this topic. It's really ambiguous. So if we want to now section it to safety, because in the country these days there's insecurity. So how do we respond to, let's say, the issue of insecurity? So if a child doesn't feel loved, it's very easy for that person to just run into his shell and keep looking at the world from his corner. But if the child is always in a loved, home, and is feeling the atmosphere of, acceptance, he would think that's how the whole world is. So when he gets to a place where it seems there's a contrast, he might not even quickly go back into his shell, but eventually when he does, there's a paradox. It's like, okay, what's even happening in this world? So he gets to easily identify the difference. So let me just stop there, because we can keep going on and on. Yeah.
There are lots of examples that we can give and all of that. Okay, so we've come to our opinion poll, and then I said something. Children who grow up in stressful environments with strict parents are more likely to develop the habit of overthinking as adults.
Well, when you say stressful, we need to streamline. Like, I need to know what the source or the cause of that stressor is.
Okay.
So, but if you are talking about, sorry to cut you, if you're talking about strict parenting, that's the authoritarian style of parenting. Is always demanding, is always putting pressure on the child to, form some certain type of habits, and it's always, harsh when those habits are not seen. So for you to grow up in a family or in a setting where both parents are on your neck to get things done their way in one pattern, when you want to decide, the first flash would be, what would daddy and mom think of this? You cannot particularly think of doing things your way. So overthinking now will not be the word. It will be, you are living a framed life. Now, if the person decides to go the other way, because sometimes you do something in one way, and when you have like a certain level of freedom, you want to more like be deviant. You want to do things differently. Now I'm on my own. I can decide for myself. So somewhere in your mind, you could be like, okay, let me even do things the way I want them. But then you now start to think that, okay, daddy that always want, or mommy that always wanted me to do things that way, could it be that that's the way? So I won't call it overthinking. I'll call it, and even some don't even have the mind to even start thinking. They just live their life out of fear, and it seems as if what can I even do on my own? Because they have always been bent and pushed to do things in a particular fashion. So I wouldn't say we should throw away that statement, or I wouldn't say we should, imbibe it, or, but let's give it a look. We look at stress. We try to identify what is causing the stress. Secondly, we look at the parenting style, which is we are identified as authoritarian. And then thirdly, overthinking. How do you measure overthinking? Because a lot of people these days in modern day world, they really don't know how to think. People should be taught how to think. It's not an abusive statement to say people don't know how to think. Because
people should be taught how to think.
Yes.
So how do you teach somebody how to think? Are there steps and guides?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so what are they?
You want to think, for instance, let's say there is insecurity in the land.
Okay.
Everybody will shout Buhari or the president, because he is the one in charge of, but he is not the one to carry arms. He is not the one to, if he comes out and stands on top of the whole country and say, stop the killing of banditry, that's not the way to go, or that is not even going to change anything. So anybody that is calling on the president is because, and that's a way of thinking now, is because the person knows that's the commander-in-chief. Mm-hmm. That is not all about it. Mm-hmm. Those that he's commanding, what is going on there in that sector of the country? Mm-hmm. Small in the system. Mm. The people, the media, are they saying the truth? Mm. Is it always the truth? Mm. So when you look at the situation, you have to look at it holistically. And I mean, for anyone that really wants to understand what I'm saying, you can go and read up on the 6 thinking hats. It gives you a broad perspective on different angles to look at a topic before, or to make a decision before you eventually decide. So you see, you would consider a lot of things before you now come up with something to even start to even think about. If they put, nowhere is safe. And I always say, I mean, feeling, there's nothing like safety. Safety is a feeling. Nowhere has been safe. Nowhere, because if you are made to look at the air we breathe, it's not pure. Yeah. There are a lot of things that can kill you out there. So nothing like safety. Safety is just a feeling. So if we feel safe, we feel there's safety. But there's nothing like safety, because there's nothing like safety. So if you're now saying there's insecurity, there has always been. Nobody, now we are afraid to live in Nigeria because more people are out there to kill us. And somebody should be responsible for this. But we as individuals has the setup called Nigeria as our day-to-day living, put in place measures for there to be at least some form of safety. Now you see there are ways of thinking. And people should be taught. So when the media says they bombed 100 people somewhere, they killed some people somewhere, yes, it happened, or no, it didn't happen. Yes, let's say, yes, it happened. Why? We know the heart of man is desperately wicked. There must be a reason. As useless as that reason may be, when it is identified, we can now know the next questions to start asking. So there are always steps.
Okay, this is a very interesting opinion poll. So over to you, our audience. What do you think? All of you that you were raised in a very strict environment, do you overthink as adults? So drop your comments in the comment section and then we'll engage from there. Okay, so let's go back to our discussion. Okay, so how can a parent detect changes in a child, and what are the steps to help the child?
Parenting, or taking care or being there for an individual, is a lifetime duty, like I said, and it's very, very tasking. If you are not attentive enough, you would not even know that there is a change in behavior. It takes one that has been, up to date with the lifestyle and the behavior of a child for you to be able to identify that there's a change. And most of the time, there are some even slight changes that should have been negligible. It only takes a very, very detailed parent to know. I'm not saying you should lord yourself over your kids or your children, but you should be vigilant, especially in the world today, where things happen so fast. With the advent of social media and all of that, it's even difficult for you to train your child these days. Why I say it's difficult is back in the days you could have said, don't go to so and so person's house. But the house of that person is already on your phone. Mm-hmm. The person you are, you're protected from, interacting with, you can do that without no one knowing. That's once true. You have, the media. So what is there to do is you can do everything virtually, but not parenting at some point, at a particular stage of that individual's life. I cannot expect a parent to be out of the home, and there's a limit to what you can do, monitoring. It's not like you're going to put tabs or put, cameras, to watch the child. The child needs their space, it needs their privacy. But I'm taking my time to say all of this because it would now bring me back to where we are, which is your question on how can you, detect and then eventually help the child. So I'm now bringing in social media because it's even difficult these days. A lot of things are happening fast. Daddy and mommy is at work. The child is there, with the phone. You don't even know what, what's going on with the phone, because that seems to be primarily a social space in 2021. As of now, the things you want to monitor, it might be even difficult to monitor them because you don't even get to know what's going on, on their phone, or because that's more like where many things happen. So, but if you have a home where everyone interacts, there is no smoke without fire. The child will do some certain things or will say some certain things that would be a flag. Mm. So you just need to be careful. Mm. You need to be attentive. There are some things that will be said, and most importantly, the things that are not said. The best way, to understand children is by observing.